iterations. I know that that was something that was top of mind for you. So just wondering what you're thinking about that.
Thanks, Nikki. I haven't looked, I've activated it and haven't looked at it yet. I think navigation is a tough one because if you keep moving people's navigation around, they get pretty annoyed. So there is I'm not sure I want to call it a trade-off, but there's stuff in navigation that can only come in big chunks, which isn't very iterative. And then there's stuff that is iterative. And without any data, I had the suspicion that a few things that could have been shipped outside of the big iteration ended up inside of a big iteration. A few things that could have been improved without shifting too much around ended up being delayed because we were waiting for the big change. But that is without any data. So let's have a look at the navigation change, because I just got access, I think yesterday. This is the old navigation. And this is the new one. So my stuff moves here, which kind of makes sense because this is a project and why also have my avatar and everything else in there. So I'm now not really doing iteration office hours. I'm now doing review of the new navigation, but it is what it is. This makes sense. To-do lists. I gotta be more careful because I'm live streaming all of this. Well, the biggest thing I noticed is that this changed to the left, which makes sense. So this is now my kind of my selector of what I want to do. And then on the right side is the whatever I selected. Oh, this seems broken. But apart from that might be, I think there's missing logos here and that causes this to break. If this is my work, then what is this? This is not my work. Can someone help me what your work is? Nobody knows?
I think the your work items are the items that sort of correspond to your old to-dos, issues, and dashboards. So they're not related to the project. They're related to like globally the things that you would accomplish. That used to be the top right in the old nav, sort of those 3 buttons there.
Okay, but the 3 buttons seem to be here. And my to-dos seem to be here.
Yeah, I think given that you're not in the scope of a project, these are all like your personally namespace pieces. But
Oh yeah. So
Kristen looks like she's on as well, so she might be better able to answer.
Hey, what was the question?
what is your work?
So your work aggregated 6 different pages that didn't have a menu in GitLab. And it's the intent of it is that it's the beginning point where we'll start to build more user-focused navigation, such as in the future, your open branches or things like that. Initially, it brings milestones, snippets. There was a bunch of weird ones that just were floating out there without a left nav. So it was our first step in the iteration to just bring all of those pages into one spot.
Okay,
It
but
does,
my milestones are here, right?
yeah. And before they didn't have a nav at all. I don't know if you remember, but there wasn't even a left nav present on those pages.
And
So they were just
I
floating.
get what this is. These are my milestones. I don't understand what this is. It says your work,
Oh.
but when I expanded it,
Yes.
it
So
allows
that's
me to switch to my work.
so that element that you clicked on that expanded over top of the rest of the navigation, it's called the context switcher, and that's the same functionality that was in the hamburger menu before. So it has your recent projects and groups. It's got a filter in there, and then it also lets you jump to those two new navs, your work and explore, to get back to home, kind of. And so that is present on any page in the super sidebar, the switcher.
Okay, I think to me, it's very confusing to click on your work and then to switch to my work as well. Like it
Yes.
seems that it's nested with the same name.
Right, that they both have the same. If you go to a project page, that context switcher ends up becoming the project name as well. And we have got feedback that in particular is confusing. You're not the first one to say that, myself included. Sometimes I lose it. The nav name is doubled in there into the
it's
context switcher.
The double nav name is kind of an indication that it doesn't work. No pun intended. So frequent, the most of what this menu gives me is frequent projects and frequent groups. And I don't think other companies use frequent. I think they use recent, not frequent. I think frequent projects, I'm not a native speaker, but that doesn't work for me.
So that's ported over from Hamburger. It's the same functionality under the hood. Recent ones, sometimes you may just visit a project, and because we only have a few slots there, it's not often what you most recently hit that's the most valuable. But if every day you're working on GitLab.com or GitLab.org, frequency means that it's more valuable to do. And that's how the algorithm on that one works.
Yeah, I understand what it's doing. Like if I visit a one-off project, I don't want it to populate the whole menu, but I don't think it's proper English to call it frequent projects. Like, I don't think you can summarize frequently visited projects to frequent projects and still have the same meaning.
I think we need to look at all of those algorithms for how we direct users, and also can we use AI to do something better than just having frequents or recents and have some kind of a more intelligent way. And then the other thing that we can look at is pinning, which we also just released. You may be able to just pin projects there that you use all the time and make that choice.
Okay, now we're getting into iteration. Because what I said is I don't think frequent projects describes properly what you want to do. And you said, okay, well, maybe we can pin stuff, maybe we can use AI or anything else. Now, I'm the biggest proponent of using AI, but I think you can probably even call it recent projects, and then not, even if you visited a project recently, but you visited it only one time, not show it. Or there must be another way to frequented projects at least would solve it for me. That at least would be proper English, because you can it's still pretty weird.
Yeah, it's not the best. I
think popular,
the naming of it.
Yeah, popular is like popular for me or somebody else. But in this is iteration office hours, so I'm only suggesting changing what you name this, not adding AI, not adding a
Just the label.
Just the label. And then switch to your work. It's very confusing to me. Explore, very confusing. So I could see this saying recent or something like that. Does anybody have a suggestion? I feel like we're missing one English word and we're dancing around it.
That the context switcher could be something like jump to or navigate to.
Yeah, but
If you're
everything
thinking
is
about the
navigation,
verbs.
right? Yeah. I think you can just make it recent and then not include popular for you. Okay, well maybe maybe the word is harder than I thought, and there's no proper word.
What we see with GitLab users, internal especially, like you have access to 20,000 projects. And so your starred project sometimes gets you down to like 15, but even that is too many and it's not your day-to-day used projects. So the ones that you go to the most would be the ones you'd navigate to during your day-to-day.
Yeah. Most navigated to, I don't know. Frequented would already solve it for me. And at least it'd be proper English.
May I have a comment on it? Yeah, if there is also like an edit button next to this frequent project, so is it something that we can actually choose the projects? If so, maybe we could call like favorite projects or like bookmarked projects, because it looks like we can edit them, right?
Yeah, but now you put the burden on the user to start making a hierarchy. So it would change the functionality from something automatic to something I have to consciously do. That's a pretty big step.
Yeah, okay.
We could explore both though.
Default a description that's not accurate.
We could suggest the ones, and then if you decide to pin them in the future, then you could kind of make it official that you're pinning it to top. The edit is there so you could clear ones that are dead, because a lot of projects, when they're deleted, they just end up showing up there, and it's annoying for users that they can't get rid of them.
Toggle edit mode. Why do we need an edit mode? Can't we just like delete them when they're done?
Yes, that could be a good iteration. This was a submission from another team, the edit button that was merged in. But yeah, I think that would be a good in between to just make it just the X's. Just the X icons.
I think one thing to point out, which kind of like goes with the iteration office hours theme, is all of this exists in the current navigation. It's just in a slightly different place. So the wording, the edit mode, the way the projects come in, that's just ported straight over from the current navigation. It's just more discoverable now. So if you click the hamburger on the left there, Sid, it should all be in there. If you see
click the hamburger at the there it is.
This menu is like a disgrace.
Yeah, this is the reason we're redoing the navigation, right? But yeah, I've just noticed there actually the title is slightly different, and that makes much more sense. So maybe rewording the one in the new navigation to match this is a good step, right?
Yeah, switch to.
Visited. Yeah, that is proper English. So we can just use this. There's nothing wrong with that. That makes more sense than frequent projects.
It also says switch to, which I was going to, like jump to, switch to. It's got that verb in the old one, but we removed that in the new. So that could be confusing.
I think you can remove it. People understand that if you click something, you move to that. Like you don't have to explain that. So this would be frequently visited. And I can see how that would be hard to fit in.
It should fit.
What about calling them like top projects and top groups, or your top projects and your top groups?
Top is that frequently visited? Is that recent? Or is that bookmarked? Like top is pretty ambiguous. but I like it because it's much shorter. So top projects would work. Yeah, cool. If it doesn't fit frequently visited projects, you can just call them top projects, and then we can have whatever algorithm we already have for it.
Sounds good. We'll iterate on those ones.
Cool. So for turning, I think most of this was a navigation review instead of iteration review. I think that the iteration part was like when a label doesn't make sense, instead of adding functionality like AI or pinning or bookmarking, just try to change the label. And I think frequently visited projects and top projects both achieved the goal. Cool. Anything else someone wants to discuss? Cool. Thanks for visiting Iteration Office Hours.